Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Tonight, we're taking a trip to the desolate, wind-swept plains, where the silence of the desert is broken only by the mournful cry of the wind, and some say, by the whispers of the dead. We have 3 such whispers for you. 3 ghostly apparitions seen in deserted ranches. Maybe, just maybe, these stories took place very near your own home, so lock your doors, turn off your lights, and let's begin. Our first story takes us to the heart of Montana, to a sprawling cattle ranch, abandoned for decades, left to rot and decay under the unforgiving sun. It stands as a skeletal monument to a bygone era, its empty windows like vacant eyes staring out at the vast emptiness. Locals whisper tales of its former owner, a hardened rancher named Jedediah, who met an untimely end in a cattle stampede, his soul forever tethered to the land he loved. Those brave enough to venture onto the property at night tell of seeing a spectral figure on horseback silhouetted against the moonlit sky. They describe a tall, imposing figure in a dusty Stetson, his face obscured by the shadows, his eyes burning with an eerie, spectral glow. He rides a magnificent black stallion, its hooves making no sound as it gallops across the barren fields. Some say the phantom cowboy is a benevolent spirit, watching over the land he once called his own. Others whisper of a restless soul, unable to find peace, forever searching for something lost in the dust and the wind. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is for sure. The legend of the phantom cowboy continues to haunt the lonely plains of Montana. One cold November night, 2 college students, eager to test the local legends, decided to spend the night at the abandoned ranch. Armed with nothing but a flashlight and a camera, they set up camp in the shadow of the dilapidated barn. They laughed off the stories, dismissing them as mere folklore. As the night wore on and the temperature plummeted, the wind began to howl through the broken windows of the ranch house, its mournful cry sending shivers down their spines. The silence was broken only by the crackling of their dying fire and the pounding of their hearts. Suddenly, the sound of hoofbeats echoed across the plains, slow and deliberate, like the beat of a funeral drum. Frozen with terror, the students huddled closer to the fire, their blood turning to ice in their veins. The hoofbeats grew louder, closer, until it sounded like the horse was right outside their circle of light. Just as suddenly as they had begun, the hoofbeats stopped. The 2 students sat in petrified silence, too afraid to breathe, too afraid to move. Then, for the briefest of moments, they saw him, a tall, shadowy figure on horseback, silhouetted against the moonlit sky. His Stetson pulled low over his face, his eyes burning with an eerie, otherworldly glow. The apparition lingered for a heartbeat, then vanished into the night as quickly and silently as it had come, leaving the 2 students trembling in the cold. Our next stop takes us deep into Texas, to a dilapidated barn on the outskirts of a ghost town, swallowed by time. It stands in the shadow of a long-abandoned farmhouse, its roof sagging, its walls covered in faded, peeling paint. The locals avoid the place, their silence speaking volumes about the horrors within its decaying timbers. Legend has it that the barn was once used by a traveling circus, bringing joy and wonder to the dusty towns of Texas. But tragedy struck one night when a fire, fueled by hay and kerosene, swept through the circus grounds, claiming many lives. The barn, though scarred, became a tomb, forever haunted by echoes of laughter and screams. Those who dare to approach the barn speak of strange and unsettling occurrences. Unexplained noises emanate from within. The mournful whinny of unseen horses, the roar of phantom lions, the haunting melody of a calliope. They tell of strange lights that dance in the windows at night, flickering like fireflies. A group of paranormal investigators, led by Dr. Emily Carter, decided to spend a weekend at the haunted barn, hoping to document the strange occurrences. Armed with EMF readers, EVP recorders, and night vision cameras, they entered the barn, met with the overwhelming stench of decay and a palpable sense of dread. As night fell, the team set up their equipment, their voices hushed with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The silence was broken only by the static hiss of their walkie-talkies and the steady beep of their EMF readers. Suddenly, the air grew cold, and the hair on their arms stood on end as they felt a presence join them. Their instruments sprang to life, their needles twitching erratically, their screens flickering with static. A cold wind swept through the barn, slamming shut the heavy wooden door with a deafening boom. The team huddled closer together, their eyes wide with fear, their hearts pounding. Then from the far end of the barn they heard it, the unmistakable sound of children laughing, their voices high-pitched and filled with an unnatural joy. The laughter grew louder, echoing through the barn, circling them, taunting them, until it felt like the unseen entities were right in their midst. One by one, the investigators' flashlights flickered and died, plunging them into absolute darkness. Our final destination takes us to the desolate plains of Nevada, to a crumbling ranch house, its white paint bleached and peeling, standing as a lonely sentinel against the unforgiving landscape. It was once the home of a wealthy rancher and his beautiful young wife, but tragedy struck when she was killed in a tragic accident, her body found near a dry well. Some say she was the victim of foul play, her spirit unable to find peace in the afterlife. Now, the ranch house stands empty, a shell of its former glory, its windows like vacant eyes staring out at the vast emptiness. Locals tell tales of a ghostly figure that haunts the property, a woman in a flowing white dress, her face forever veiled in shadow. They say she roams the halls of the ranch house at night, her mournful cries echoing through the empty rooms. One starless night, a group of friends on a road trip through Nevada stumbled upon the abandoned ranch house. Intrigued by its eerie beauty and the stories they had heard, they decided to spend the night, eager to experience the legend of the Lady in White for themselves. As they approached the house, a sense of unease settled over them, a feeling that they were trespassing on sacred ground. They cautiously entered the house, their footsteps echoing through the dusty halls. The air hung heavy with the smell of decay and the weight of unseen eyes upon them. They explored the house, their flashlights cutting through the darkness, illuminating cobweb-draped furniture and faded photographs that hinted at a life once lived within those walls. As they ventured deeper into the house, they noticed a strange chill in the air, a coldness that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. They heard soft whispers coming from the end of the hall, like the rustling of silk dresses and the murmur of hushed conversations. One of the friends, a young woman named Sarah, felt a cold hand brush against her cheek, sending a shiver down her spine. Suddenly, the flickering light of their flashlights revealed a figure standing at the end of the hall. It was a woman, tall and slender, dressed in a long white gown that flowed around her like mist. Her face was obscured by a veil, but even in the darkness they could sense the sadness that emanated from her. Sarah gasped, her hand flying to her mouth to stifle a scream. The other friends froze, their blood turning to ice in their veins as they stared at the apparition before them. The Lady in White turned her head slowly, her unseen eyes seeming to pierce through them, reading their souls. Thank you for joining me tonight, my friends, as we journeyed into the heart of the American West, where the line between fact and fiction blurs, and the spirits of the past still roam. If you enjoyed these tales of ghostly apparitions and haunted ranches, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more chilling encounters. And if you're feeling brave, share your own ghostly experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. But for now, my friends, sleep tight, keep your lights on, and remember, sometimes it's the stories we tell in the dark that are the most real of all.